Hello my dear friends, I'm Corey. In this video I'm going to show you 5 hobby tools that ended up just being a waste of money. So the last time I did a video about my 5 favorite hobby tools that you should totally buy. And after that I decided that I also have to do a video to show you 5 hobby tools that ended up to be literally a waste of money for a series of reasons. Maybe because I didn't find an occasion to actually use them, or maybe because they were defective, maybe because it was my fault, or maybe it was fault of the manufacturer, who knows. But these tools that I'm going to show you here aren't actually one of my best experience when talking about our hobby. Keep in mind, and this isn't actually a top 5. What I mean by that is that the first thing that I'm going to show you here isn't actually best or worst compared to all of the other 4 things that I'm going to show you. It's just like a list of all of the tools that I didn't like very much. So without further ado, let's start with the first tool. Hey, just wanted to make a little disclaimer. Just because I didn't have a good experience with the tool shown in this video, it doesn't mean that this tool aren't good at all, or that the companies producing them are bad. This was just my personal experience, so don't take it so seriously, all right? Enjoy the video. Now let's start with something that isn't actually a bad product, it's just that I didn't find an occasion to use them. And I'm talking about Greenstuff Ward scratching brushes. Now what are these things? Well, they are scratching brushes. What I mean by that is that their bristles are very hard, sturdy, and they are used in 2 ways. The first way the Greenstuff Ward advertised them for is cleaning, because Greenstuff Ward sells their brand of rolling pin, which are a tool used to texturize the base of your miniatures with green stuff. And if you have ever used Greenstuff, you will know that Greenstuff is very, very sticky, and more often than not is going to get stuck into the rolling pins, and then you use these brushes to scrape away the Greenstuff off the rolling pins. And this never happens to me because I am very careful when using the rolling pins. I use a very oily material like Sculptor Vaseline, and it never happens to me that the Greenstuff remains stuck on the rolling pins. The other things that Greenstuff Ward advertised these brushes for is weathering, because you can actually scrape away the paint from your miniatures to simulate erosion or chipping damage, all kind of stuff. And that's okay, I like weathering my miniatures. The problem is that I don't like scrape away literal paint from my models. That's terrifying me because I'm afraid of ruining them. Even if they have like different kind of bristle, there are bristles that are more soft and others that are more hard. But I don't know, I'm not very confident in using this stuff to scrape away paint of my model. I actually prefer to paint scratches and simulate weathering that way, that instead of actually scratching away the paint. It's me that I'm just afraid of doing that. That's only me. So this is a product which is not bad. It's just that you need the right situation and you need to know how to actually use them. And I am not very confident in that. Another product that I really didn't end up using it very well, it's still from Greenstuff Ward. And it's this thing, which is called Bluestuff. What is this thing? Well, technically it's kind of a rubber, it's a very rubbery and bending soft material which you use to create your own mold to copy and clone bits or entire miniatures. The way that this thing is used is basically you put it into hot water, and after a little bit of time it starts to melt a little bit so that you can actually used to create a mold. Basically, you take the bits of the miniature or the entire model if you want, and then sandwiches between two pieces of blue stuff. And the two pieces of blue stuff are going to take the shape of the bits that you want to clone. And after the blue stuff has cured, well, you have now a mold which you can use to clone the bits or the miniature that you have put inside this thing. And you can do it by putting green stuff inside or resin, whatever. Now, what's my problem with that? Because you think, well, that's incredibly cool. I can recast my own miniatures without having to buy from a shady recaster. Well, that's good, that's okay. The thing is that I never managed to actually copy the bits that I wanted to clone in the way that I wanted to. What I mean by that is that 9 times out of 10, every bits that I have tried to clone miscast. It was a miscast. Full of bubbles, the mold lines were huge, the two part of the mold didn't properly align. It doesn't matter what I tried to do, I have tried literally anything to try and align the two pieces of the mold together, it was always a miscast. And I ended up giving up on using this thing. It was pretty cool, pretty amazing, and it turns out to be just a waste of money for me. Now, to be honest, I haven't actually tried a one-part mold, which means that you don't put the bits between two pieces of blue stuff, you just push the bits inside the soft blue stuff and then you pour resin onto it. I will have to try to do that. The thing is that besides maybe terrain pieces, I don't actually know what other kind of bits that I could possibly clone. Also, another problem is that miniatures are full of small details, and trying to copy those details it's going to be impossible. At least for me, it was impossible. Let me know down in the comment if you have used this stuff and, well, if you managed to actually make it work for you. The first two tools were just an appetizer. Now we are going into the true and painful waste of money. And well, Games Workshop always comes to my mind. Okay, let's start with something that, well, it burned me a little bit because this was my very first pair of cutters. And these are the Citadel detail cutters, which cost £21. Now, why this was a waste of money? Not because it doesn't work, it did work perfectly fine. For just 6 months, you know, for £21, I expect that this stuff would work for the entirety of my life, especially because they are made out of metal. There is no plastic here. These are completely made out of metal. And the problem is that after 6 months of using these cutters, the two blades unaligned themselves. Now, when I try to cut plastic or resin with this pair of cutters, I still have to work a little bit on the bits because the cut is not perfectly clean. Or in the worst case scenario, these cutters would completely break the bits of the miniatures, especially if it is made out of resin. Now, it may be made out of metal in the outside, but maybe in the inside, in the mechanism here, maybe there are cheap plastic parts, or I don't know, there must be something cheap, because I couldn't believe myself that after 6 months this pair of clippers, of cutters, ended up with the two blades completely unaligned. This was my very first big waste of money when talking about our hobby. And let's stay with GW a little bit, shall we? Because now we are going to talk about one of the worst things that I have used from Games Workshop, which are their brushes. Now, my problem, again, it's not the quality of the thing, because well, they are fine, you can use them, but for the price that you pay, these brushes are garbage. Now, the only way that I can possibly use this brush is maybe by dry brushing or washing, because they completely lose their point. They are useless in terms of precision. And again, I have paid a lot of money. I don't remember how much these brushes actually cost, but it was too much compared to the brushes that I regularly use. I use cheap synthetic brushes from art store. Most of the time I use two brands, which are Tintoretto and Borciani Bonazzi, which are two brands of brushes that we have here in Italy, and they work amazing. I'm using this kind of brushes for like years, and I use strong chemicals for cleaning them. We are talking about isopropanol. We are talking about heavy stuff to clean the brushes, and I always clean my brushes after every project. It doesn't mean if the project is small or big. I always cleaning them. And this brush makes no difference. The thing is that after like a dozens of projects, the bristle started to split, going in random way. It doesn't matter how much I clean them. It doesn't matter how much I try to reshape them with gel or other stuff. They always end up by splitting. And to me, it's just a waste of money. There are cheaper brushes that last for much longer time than this one, so I don't think they are actually worth their price. Do you remember what I said at the beginning of this video, that the first tool that I've shown you doesn't actually mean that it's not a bad tool compared to the next four? Well, this tool that I'm going to show you here, that rule doesn't apply to it. This tool was such a waste, not only of money, but of times, materials. It was a waste all around. I'm talking about the Army Painter rattle cans. Now, I know what you're going to say, Corey. I use Army Painter rattle cans for a long period of time and they are perfectly fine. What's the problem with that? That's great. That's great. You may actually using them the correct way. Maybe it was just me again. I don't know. Maybe it's just my mistake. But what happened with this rattle can infuriates me, because it was a huge amount of waste, not only of money. Now, this rattle can that you see here is the only one that still work, which is the base primer matte black. I had other two rattle cans, which were the white primer and the desert yellow primer rattle can. What happened with these things? Well, basically, after I bought these rattle cans, I started to use them. And after I primed two projects, the plastic cap of the rattle cans clogged. Both the white primer and the desert yellow primer clogged the bottle cap. Is it bottle cap? I don't know how to this part here, which you push and then the paint come out. Well, they both clogged, and well, I tried to change them, of course, and I've put two brand new spraying part cap, plastic cap, onto the rattle can, and they get clogged too. I thought, okay, maybe the pigment freezed a little bit inside the rattle can, because maybe it's a little bit cold here. Let me just try to warm the rattle can. So I soaked it into slightly warm water, and after that I start to shaking it for like an hour. I was actually feeling my arm. It was like it was falling off. It was hurting like hell. And then I've changed the bottle caps and I tried again. Yet it clogged again those two new bottle caps. And that made me incredibly angry. Not only because I wasted money onto those two rattle cans, but also because they were new, completely full, still usable. And I have to throw them away because I can't keep using them. Every time I changed the cap, it was getting clogged. I was also worried that they were about to maybe be too heavy onto the miniature that I had to prime, so they might obscure the details and ruin the miniatures. Now, again, maybe it was my mistake. Maybe it was a army painter mistakes. Who knows? Maybe they didn't actually store the rattle can into a warm and good place. I don't know. Thing is that I had to throw away 2 perfectly new rattle cans, and that makes me angry, still thinking to this day. So thank you very much, my friends. Now again, these tools, even though I had a bad experience with them, it doesn't mean that the company that manufactured this product are actually bad companies. Again, these are great companies that do great products. It's just that my personal experience wasn't too great. So maybe actually your experience will be different, or you had a different experience with these things. Let me know down in the comments. And also, if you want, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos, and also leave a like. Down in the description you will also find a link to my Instagram, so if you want to follow me also on Instagram, well, go and do it. It will make me very happy. And so this is the end of the video. Goodbye, my friends. I'm Corey, and I hope to see you next time.